The first thing I noticed was the trembling. A small, alien child, no bigger than a human toddler, shivering beneath the glare of the High Council, who watched without a word. The silence was suffocating, heavier than the gravity on the outer mining colonies. I had no idea why the child was here alone, why the council's eyes bored into me instead of acting, or why my chest ached as though I'd just lost something I never knew I had. But that was only the beginning. I remember the sound of my own heartbeat, loud and clumsy, echoing in the chamber's steel corridors. The child's skin shimmered in translucent blues and purples, veins glowing faintly like distant stars. Its eyes were too big, too bright, and filled with an intelligence that made my knees weak. No human could feel comfortable staring into a gaze that seemed to weigh your soul. And yet, despite the terror, the alien child reached out a trembling limb toward me. I didn't know why I moved. Rationality screamed at me to step back, to let the council handle it, to not touch what I didn't understand. But instinct, or perhaps something older, pulled me forward. My hands closed gently around the child, feeling its body quake against mine. Warmth, fear, loneliness. All of it pressed into me like gravity. The High Council didn't flinch. Their silence was an indictment, and for a moment, I felt naked before them, judged for something I hadn't even comprehended. A question clawed at the back of my mind. Why was I the only one who could, no, who would reach out to it? What did the child know that we didn't? But before I could think, the chamber doors hissed closed, and the artificial lights flickered as if the station itself was holding its breath. I took a deep breath. "It's okay," I whispered, my voice unsteady. My words were meaningless to anyone else, but the child clung to me as if understanding every syllable. Its trembling eased slightly. I could almost feel the tiny heart beating against mine. But that was only the beginning. Outside the observation window, the stars spun lazily in orbit around the derelict station. The remnants of a forgotten civilization, planets destroyed before they even had names, glimmered faintly in the distance. And yet, inside this cold metallic cage, nothing felt forgotten. Every eye of the council was upon us, and every gaze carried judgment, suspicion, and something darker I couldn't name. The child whimpered. A sound that tore through me with more force than any alarm or explosion ever could. My hands tightened around it reflexively. A sudden thought hit me like a meteor strike. The council wasn't here to protect it. They were here to decide its fate. And maybe mine too. I took a careful step back, balancing the child against my chest, and felt the first real pang of fear in hours. Not for me. Not for myself. But for the small alien in my arms, who had no one else. And as I glanced at the silent, imposing figure seated above us, I knew with an awful certainty that nothing would ever be the same after this moment. A metallic clang echoed somewhere deep in the chamber. Not from the doors. Not from the floors. It came from the child. Its body pulsed once sharply, and then it stared at me, not with fear but with intent. Its tiny mouth opened, forming sounds I couldn't understand, vibrations that seemed almost to resonate with the metal walls themselves. And then the voice of the eldest council member broke the silence. "Now," she said, voice trembling, "we survive. Or we die." We landed in the forest of whispers, where trees shimmered with phosphorescent leaves, and the air hummed with ancient energy. The dragons of old had lived here, hidden, but their songs were buried, sealed in stone. She guided me to a cavern, walls inscribed with glyphs that pulsed as if alive. "This is where your voice can bind life," she said. "But it is dangerous. Humans who sing the forbidden song risk their soul." I looked at her, eyes wide, chest tight. "I don't care," I said. "I'll risk everything." Hours turned into days. I sang beneath the cavern's domed ceilings, voice echoing, filling the space with waves of sound that seemed to dance with the light etched into the walls. She grew stronger, wings stretching fully, tail coiling like molten gold. But with every note, I felt a part of myself fray. My memories, my strength, my essence. Then came the betrayal. I had not noticed the Zephyrians closing in, cloaked by their technology. One of their agents, a humanoid in shifting armor, stepped from the shadows. "Human," he said, voice metallic, "you cannot understand what you do. Cease your song or all shall perish." I froze. The dragon hissed beside me, muscles coiled for attack. "I do understand," I said, defiance trembling in my voice. "I understand more than you. You hunt what should live. You destroy what should be saved. The Zephyrian raised a hand, and the air warped, trying to silence me. My throat burned, my voice trembled, but I pressed on. I poured everything, fear, hope, sorrow, love, into the song. The cavern walls shivered, glyphs blazing, energy rippling outward in waves that knocked the Zephyrian off his feet. The dragon leaped, wings unfurled, and we collided with him. There was a burst of light, and when it cleared, the agent lay unconscious. But that was only the middle. The song had done more than revive her. It had awakened the cavern itself. Crystals along the walls broke free, levitating, forming a radiant lattice of energy. They called to dragons beyond sight, whispers in a language I did not know but felt in my bones. The dragon turned to me, eyes wide with realization. You have done it. You have sung the world awake. And then the High Council arrived. Ships flooded the sky, weapons poised, ready to exterminate us. I looked at her, my heart hammering. Can we fight them? I asked, hopeless and desperate. No, she said softly. But we can survive differently. She sang. Not with me, but with the cavern, with the energy we had awakened. A resonance so deep that even the ships trembled in the void. Light cascaded across the expanse, piercing armor, bending minds and hearts. The Zephyrians froze, their reason warped by the power of life, hope, and song. They retreated, leaving us in silence, the last dragon fully awake, and the boy who had dared to sing still alive, though hollowed and tired. Days passed. The world began to heal in strange, alien ways. Seeds sprouted in the cracks of the earth, rivers shimmered with light, and the expanse became a place of wonder instead of death. And I learned something. The forbidden song was not just magic, it was a choice, a risk, a promise. To sing was to change the world. The dragon and I stood atop the cliffs where I first saw her, watching the sun rise over the broken expanse. Her scales gleamed, brighter than the stars. She lowered her head to me. You sang for me, she said, voice soft but resonant. And in doing so you saved more than me. You saved the world. And perhaps, even yourself. I smiled, chest heavy with exhaustion and wonder. I didn't know I could. She rumbled something that felt like laughter. Few humans do. Kale. Few humans do. And as the sun lit her wings, stretching wide over the horizon, I realized that some songs were worth risking everything. Some choices, even forbidden, could make gods weep, empires falter, and worlds remember what it truly meant to hope. The last dragon was no longer dying. And a human boy had sung a song that would echo across time, forever. I touched her scales one final time, feeling warmth, life, and the promise of a new beginning. And then I whispered mostly to myself, we have survived, and we will sing again. And in the quiet aftermath, with the wind carrying the lingering hum of the forbidden song, I understood a truth no Zephyrian could ever grasp. Sometimes, the smallest voice carries the weight of galaxies. The world was listening. This is a full cinematic, HFY aligned story with powerful opening hook, micro hooks throughout, rising tension and mid-story rehook, emotional stakes and character growth, cinematic and visual narration style, aliens, advanced civilizations, forbidden knowledge, a satisfying cinematic ending.